and welcome back to the ongoing renovations here at Shannon Makes. When we left off last week, we had just started unearthing the side entryway to the house in order to finish the last remaining portion of our exterior French drain. Now, preliminary signs pointed to a lot of water damage on this section of the house, which was something we had anticipated, but now it was time to figure out what exactly the extent of the damage was. So after removing several generations of paved walkways from the entryway, Jean was finally able to dig down low enough to expose the sill plate, and as expected, it had seen better days. There's our sill plate and the foundation. And the corgi. Hi, corgi.
Very how big corgi you see.
Yeah, I know. So helpful. So, as we've talked about in previous videos, the sill plate is basically the one board that our entire house is sitting on, and for the record, you generally don't want it to look like this. Now, we'd already replaced one smaller portion of the sill in the front of the house, again where we were having a lot of water damage, and it also was in similar shape. And judging by the order and state of the various layers of siding on the house, this problem dates back at least a couple decades.
Plywood is no good.
Janelle, are you enjoying the landscaping, huh? Also, we can see somebody tried to shove bricks under there as some sort of stopgap foundation measure. Creative problem solving, I guess? So while Jean finished excavating the rest of the trench, Phil and I had an impromptu brainstorming session, just kind of considering our options given the scope of the work needed and our limited time frame. And actually, part of the problem was that we weren't 100% sure what the full scope of the work was because we couldn't see the full sill plate. Did we just need to change a portion of this sill? Did we need to change the whole sill out? Or do we need to change all of the sill plates around the entire back extension of the house? Fortunately, one section of the foundation was so caved in that it looked like I'd be able to push my way through, crawl under the house, and have a look for myself just to sort of see what shape things were in down there.
Enlève ces roches-là, puis esti.
Tu des roches qui ont l'air solides dans le cubit? Non.
Ok, enlève-les, puis on peut continuer à creuser, faire un trou pour rentrer là.
Oui, j'en ai un. Un petit peu, moi. Je vais avoir deux, là, pour te faire de la place, OK?
That's one can of worms! Now, as you can imagine, crawling around in a dark, tight, and bumpy space doesn't lead to the smoothest of footage, but I'll do my best to sum up my findings, starting with a copious amount of shoes. As you can hopefully see, the height varies between I can nearly sit straight, to I can comfortably army crawl, to I hope you're some sort of human cockroach hybrid. I do not super fit over there. That is definitely something living in there. And the ground is about half dirt and half every other type of debris known to mankind. We've got rocks, bottles, cans, chunks of wood. Oh my god, it's gotta be a sill plate, it's massive. Old pipes, bricks, you name it, it probably can be found under this part of the house if you look long enough. That feels like it should be touching. That really feels like it should be touching. That also looks a bit collapsed. Fun. Oh, definitely more things living in there. We are not alone. Look at this. This piece of pottery has a very neat story behind it, so let's remember that for a future episode. This glass bottle might also be related, not sure, but it's definitely very cool. There's a crossbeam running the width of the house and supported by some rather questionable stone pylons. That's one questionable pile of rocks. But then again, they've been here for at least 100 years, so I really shouldn't judge them too harshly.
Okay, there's a cross beam in the middle. That's good to know.
Yeah, there's a cross beam here. We've got a big ass pile of rocks. We've got some small piles of rocks. We've got some stumps over here. We have a giant chunk of what looks like it was a sill plate, or a joist, but it's just like sitting here. Oh my god, it's gotta be a sill plate, it's massive. Honestly, all the beams look in great shape. But it's got good ventilation, so I guess that makes sense. Oh, another nest. Well, try not to think about that. And that's the highlight reel. If you want the full unsteady cam version, it's up on my Patreon if you want all the dusty, gory details. Friends, I have a confession to make. I have become seriously addicted to fresh bread. But Shannon, you might say, you're in the middle of a renovation. How are you finding time to make bread from scratch? Aha! I am not. I am getting my fresh bread fix from today's sponsor, Wild Grain, who offers monthly bread subscription boxes that support small artisanal bakers and pasta makers around the country, working with them to provide you with a wide and fully customizable selection of bread that is delivered to your door and can be baked in 25 minutes or less. I have had their sourdoughs, their Bavarian pretzel buns, the giant chocolate chip cookies, and of course, oodles and oodles of their croissant. Every single item has been delicious, fast, convenient. Did I mention delicious? Plus, for every new membership, they donate 4 meals to the Greater Boston Food Bank, so you are not only treating yourself, you're also helping to support a good cause. So definitely go check them out. Even if you are vegan or can't eat gluten, they have still got a lot of options for you. You can click the link in the description and use my code to get $30 off your first box. Plus, don't forget, it comes with free croissant for life.
Avant, faut être sûr d'avoir descendu assez.
They come bearing gifts.
Yeah?
Here she comes.
A bottle! 2 bottles!
And a floor joist.
Is that normal?
Oh, there's a whole sill plate just floating under there. And so the rest of that day, and in fact well into the evening, was spent excavating that entire side of the house because we only had one more day on our excavator rental and a lot of work ahead of us to finish.
Oui, là, elle est belle. C'est ici. Ici, elle commence à être pas pire, là, ouais. C'est moi l'autre côté.
So it's been well documented on my channel that Rice Krispies are one of my all-time favorite snacks and one of my favorite ways to relax at the end of a long day of work. So it felt like the perfect visual accompaniment to the announcement that I'll be dropping down to one video every other week for the summer. Now, don't worry, there's nothing wrong. There are no problems with my house or my health. It just felt like a healthy decision in order to try and avoid some burnout. Here on YouTube, I'm essentially a production company of one. I'm the producer, the videographer, the editor, the on-camera talent, the publicist, and more. And if I don't set breaks for myself, there's no one else who's going to step in and do it for me. And since I'd like to continue making videos here on the platform for a long time to come, I figure it would be a good idea to instigate some healthy breaks now and then. So I will be dropping down to a video every other week for the next 8 weeks, or for the next 4 videos if you prefer. And it's a routine I'll probably stick to in coming years as well. If you want more content, if you're feeling a little whole in your Friday routine, then there's always the second channel, Shannon Makes Something Else. It's linked in the description of all my videos, or you can go back through and get caught up on the old videos because at this point, even dedicated fans of the channel who've been here from the beginning, you're probably a bit rusty on some of the plans, discoveries, and adventures of what is now the previous 58 episodes.
Where's Quincy's?
The next morning kicked off with a visit from neighbor Mike, who had been following the progress every time he drove past the house, and he decided to swing by and see the work up close and in person, and it also gave him a chance to meet Jean, which both of them being extremely nice and loquacious gentlemen, there was a legitimate chance that time would simply fold in on itself, forming an infinity loop where the conversation would simply never end. But fortunately, work was eventually able to continue, this time in the front of the house, where we were saying goodbye to our rotten and rickety stairs. While Jean worked on the front yard, doing some quick regrading and terraforming, Phil and I settled in to install the PVC pipe. Now, similar to the other side, we'd be using this pipe to catch the rainwater from the gutters, but we would also be upgrading our sub pump discharge situation, which currently one could politely describe as makeshift.
Hi, Drago!
So here's the finished setup. In the front of the house, we have one pipe for the gutters and one for the sump pump, and another for the gutters at the back of the house, and it is all being joined and channeled away from our house and our foundation. By this point, the French drain was ready to be buried, but we were waiting on one last gravel delivery, and keeping us company while we waited were some neighbors passing by. We'd never met them, but understandably, everyone in the area was admiring the work and was quite happy to see the progress on the house.
Oh, I have no idea.
Do you speak French?
No. There's some dirty words, but no.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Mais vas-y,
Hop, hop.
t'es capable.
Oui. Et où ta branche?
Allez. Allez, va chercher. T'es capable. Vas-y. Frustration. Oh, Phil to the rescue. Oh my god, you're gonna kill someone with that. It's longer than you are, hon.
That's for the hug.
Then the gravel arrived, and I don't remember exactly what the problem was here, but I think it was that his truck wouldn't let him raise the bed when it was full because his wheels weren't on a level enough surface. This would certainly not be the first time that the side road being on such a steep angle has made deliveries a bit more complicated than usual, but with the help of the excavator and some creative problem solving, we were eventually able to unload all the gravel.
64 and I start driving at 16.
I've been driving since I was 16 and I've been doing this for 18 years.
Hey, I'll take the shovel, I'm gonna hold it. Alright, yes?
And with the new gravel, we could finally wrap up the French drain.
Jack Sparrow.
the gravel fully deposited, Jean started replacing the soil on the back half of the driveway, except we decided to leave a wide strip next to the house uncovered for easier access in case we decided to do some work on the foundation later on. There was one more thing we wanted to use the excavator for before we returned it, and that was to help us haul as much of the old heating systems out of the basement as possible. Now, remember, when I bought the place, the basement was full of several generations of boilers and furnaces. There were heating units, furnaces, water boilers, and pipes everywhere you turned in here, and I'm still not sure how we're gonna get some of it out of there. Including one behemoth that we'd taken to calling
the Crucible.
Now, the excavator couldn't help us get it out of the basement, but it could help us get it from the house into a truck bed so that we could then drive it to the scrapyard. But before we could unload anything from the basement, we needed to tackle one last task. And that task is the actual reason that we convinced Jean to drive the 12 hours from Montreal to Nova Scotia, and that is fixing these stairs. The house came with them like this. They are installed at a breakneck pitch, and Jean has wanted to fix them ever since he laid eyes on them in photos. And if you don't believe me, just behold this actual conversation from July of 2023.
Take a picture from the basement that we see the whole stair, including the weird extension, and give us the measurements from the floor of the basement until the top of the stairs. So just kind of the top of the joist, about how high is the whole kind of measurements of the staircase.
So clearly this has been a point of serious interest for Jean for quite a while. It is the bee in his bonnet, and now was finally his chance to install some proper stairs. But in order to do that, we also needed to change the door to the basement, or rather, we needed to put it back where it originally was, as I explained to my patrons last year.
So here in the kitchen, you've got right here, this is the door to the rest of the house, and then right next to it here, this is the door down to the basement. That's how they originally were. Actually, I have some sneaking suspicions that before this whole section of the house was added on, I actually think that the entry to the basement was like a subterranean one. I'm not using my words very well. One of these. I actually think that was how you used to be able to get into the basement. I have a few reasons for thinking this, but it's still just a light hypothesis. However, anyway, this section was added on, the kitchen and the other side, which is currently the mudroom entryway area. The door situation is this. It has always been like this. One door leading to the rest of the house, and then right next to it, a door leading to the basement. However, if we go over into the other side, somewhere in this house's history, it has been changed. So there is no longer a door leading to the basement on the other side.
So here's where the door to the basement should be. And if we look in the stairwell, we can actually see that it's where it used to be, because the original framing and the header are still there, but for some reason in the house's past, it got moved to the side under the stairs, which led to this awkward situation.
Puis viens prendre ça ici.
And that situation will continue to be awkward for another 2 weeks until next episode, when we fix the door and then absolutely let loose on all the heating units we have in the basement, including
the Crucible.
So I'll see you then, and in the meantime, over on the second channel.
Oh tabarnak, qu'est-ce que je viens de faire là? C'est bon.
Goop, goopy, goopy.